Hi there, good evening and welcome to tonight's whole school update. We're looking at the mid-year review and preparing ourselves ahead of those review meetings. This is our mid-year point to kind of look at your objectives, reflect on how you've been progressing, and giving us that chance to kind of maybe add some evidence, maybe give some comments and some thoughts as to how we might fulfil those objectives ahead of the end of year review, which will be just into the next academic year. So it's a really important point to kind of pause and reflect. Our review meetings will be taking place on the 31st of March, and there'll be in the email that accompanies this video a link to this guide that I'm going to talk you through for this update. This guide is relevant for teaching staff, support staff and line managers. Support staff, if you can liaise with your line manager and work out when your review meetings will be, because it may well be that they don't take place at the same time as the teaching staff, which are on the 31st of March. So the inset day on the 31st of March, you'll have a review meeting planned and booked in. And as we always sort of comment on these review sort of sessions, it is the conversation that is paramount, not the paperwork on Blue Sky. The paperwork on Blue Sky needs to be thorough, it needs to be well written, but the most important part of this process is the conversation that you're having with your line manager, the members of staff that you line manage. So in the guide, it says here that there is a way to check all your objectives before the mid-year review meetings. Go through to Blue Sky, click on your objectives and just check that each of them are approved and incomplete. That's the status for those objectives whilst they're live. And underneath each objective, you can start to add a note. About 100 words is perfect to kind of reflect and comment on how that objective is moving forward, things that you've done, things that you've contributed to. Really good practice. Some members of staff do this as the year goes along. As things happen, as they maybe attend training, as they maybe have progression moments within their kind of practice, they add on a note. So that's really good practice, and well done to all those staff who do that. But if you haven't done anything so far, this is the time to add those notes in, and it gives communication to your line manager as to how you feel you've progressed. As well as the notes, you've also got an opportunity on the right-hand side to click Manage Evidence. You can upload a document, you could upload maybe a web page of a certificate of a webinar that you've attended, that kind of thing. So managing evidence is another way to add in that reflection. For all staff then, please, if you could go in and do that ahead of your mid-year review, it really helps your line manager to have that overview of how you're progressing with your objectives. Line managers, if you can prepare to review your team, you need to go in and look at the Manage tab on Blue Sky. You need to click that and look at all the objectives that your staff have got to check that everybody's got an approved objective and that their objectives are in good order. So there's a guide there as to how those should be worded. It really does help for my tracking and reporting if all those objectives can be worded as shown, please, with the capital letters, the dates correct, and that there's no objective that just sort of has the wording and no title to it. So it needs to have that proper title. I added in a recent objective, sort of a dummy objective, if you like, because it's the wider contributions objective. That's just there because some staff have got things that have cropped up during the year. There's nowhere for them to attach it to in the other objectives that they've got. It's a bit of an anomaly perhaps, or something additional that they're doing. So I can quite imagine that lots of staff will have nothing on that wider contributions tab because all of the things that you want to comment on fit into your other objectives. So feel free to ignore it, but it's there if you want to add anything on that has cropped up. If you are a curriculum leader, it's worth helping everybody to think about their objectives, maybe directing your team towards the kind of developmental opportunities that you have provided during your department training, and signposting them to materials and perhaps links to things that you may have issued or used in your training. During the mid-year review meeting, you'll have a 30-minute face-to-face meeting. Remember that when you're sat together having that conversation, you might just be making paper notes and backdating the review statement later, or you might be logged in, and it does matter who is logged in. So the reviewee can only make notes on their own objectives and amend their own objectives through their login. The reviewer can create the actual review statement and kind of review the objectives of the reviewee. Line managers, when you're in that review meeting, you're going to need to click on a certain button. So I'm actually going to just show you that live by bringing across this screen now. So line managers, you need to be in your Manage tab across the top here. And down the left hand side, you're clicking on Review Meeting. And over on the top right here, clicking on Review Statement, Create a Review Statement. And I'm just going to grab Will's. So it's a mid-year review, and we click Create. Click the right academic year. And then I just wanted to show you and remind you that from this page here, I might want to kind of look at that person's objectives, look at the notes they've made, reflect on those objectives. And I can do that from this screen by just clicking onto those objectives there in the right year. And what I can do is I can actually view them. And if I go into view one of those objectives, have a good look at the notes, look at the evidence that's managed there. And then I can just click back to return to review statement on the top right there. It just allows you to toggle back and forth much more easily than having to go back to the main objectives page. So that's just a helpful little feature of the review statement page. In my review statement here, I'm going to want to be really clear as to which objective I'm commenting on. I'm going to want to put a comment about that, so I can actually copy the text from there if I want to, pop it into that review statement box and just start typing away how I feel my member of staff has developed and progressed with that objective. And then have a new sort of subheading of perhaps the second department, the second objective that I'm looking at. And again, filling in some nice details as to how I think that objective has been met and just that conversation that you're having with your member of staff. Popping in the third one there and again, filling in the comments and the conversation. Once I feel that that box is really well filled out, really kind of reflects the conversation that we've had, I would mark the review statement as complete and then click Save. If, however, there were bits that I was still working on, I can not click it as complete and just click Save for now, and it means that I can come back to that at a later date to add some more details. So that's for line managers. Just go back to the guide there. So when you have completed the mid-year review and you've clicked Save, that's the mid-year review point done. And for most staff, that will be happening on the 31st of March. If, however, there is a problem and you can't get that review meeting done on that day for whatever reason, we'll have a window of opportunity within about the first week after Easter, where we can provide some cover for the member of staff who was unable to attend. Perhaps it's not your working day on a Friday, for example. We can cover that member of staff so that your line manager can then meet with you, perhaps during their free, in order to complete that mid-year review meeting. If there are any questions, please email me. That could be about the kind of technicalities of Blue Sky, or it could be to do with the actual mid-year review points or your objectives moving forward. Just email me any questions. And I hope that this is a celebration, a reflection, a mid-year point to kind of just pause and reflect on all the really, really great hard work that you're doing every single day. So do thank you for that. Thanks. I hope this has been a useful guide.